From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. The vast majority of memes we can assume are just things people think are funny and send to their friends. But you have to watch out. There are wolves in the flock here, and they are disguised just like the sheep. So this warfare is also psychological, and it can be enormously effective, primarily because it is so often underestimated. When we say it's older than you might think, you know, you could say, well, an internet meme logically couldn't exist before the age of the internet, but I wouldn't be so sure with that. This stuff has historical roots in old school analog propaganda. Matt, you and I had talked before about wartime operations, you know, things like propaganda radio announcements, like Lord Haha is one. He's a pro-Nazi propagandist character broadcasting to the UK in World War II. And, you know, then it's the war for hearts and minds, same as it ever was, dropping pamphlets before the days of gifts.
Yes, exactly. On YouTube, I found this video posted by Andy Black Associates, and the title was "Memetic Warfare is Not a Modern Strategy." And in it, it's archival video footage from World War II showing Allied soldiers filling up these balloons with pamphlets that would be sent over into, German-controlled territory, and they were designed to fall to the ground and explode somewhat, like to an extent, and just send these pamphlets all over the place. And the whole point was to get a message into the minds of anyone living in German-occupied territory, whether those were soldiers or civilians that were, maybe not at all a part of the Nazi movement, but it was just to change their perception about something, to make them think about the Nazi forces that are in that area differently, or to think about the Allied forces that will eventually be coming through in a different way. Or even just to get them to rise up against the Nazis that were controlling that territory. So it's just, I've spent way too much time on archive.org attempting to find the original footage of that, but I was unable to find it. I would just recommend checking it out on YouTube for now if you can.
Well, you know what else could be a meme is a song. Like they're another thing that could seem very innocuous or like very, this is just like for fun, right?
It's been
this whole pod, yeah, it's been she wait, or like there's another one that's somebody want, anyway, these things can be definitely memified, but there's a whole podcast series from, I forget, Pineapple Street, I think, made it, but it's called Winds of Change, and it is about the notion that the CIA helped or maybe even forced the band The Scorpions to write the song Winds of Change as a means of like influencing the fall of the Berlin Wall. The lyrics being, follow the Moskva down to Gorky Park, listening to the winds of change, an August summer night, soldiers passing by. The future's in the air, I can feel it everywhere, blowing with the winds of change. And then it's, take me to the magic of the moment on a glory night. Anyway, point is, if that's true, that's pretty slick, right?
It's not as good as the Key and Peele epic song. If you guys remember, there's a music video where it keeps a running tally of how much money the guy has when he's producing this, and it just it goes down from there. I've been on a Key and Peele rabbit hole again.
It's good stuff.
I can't think of enough good things to say about Jordan Peele.
Neither can I. He's also one of the most versatile creators of our time, I think. Coming from absolute comedy genius to becoming, one of the most, instant first feature, Oscar world. But my point is, though, there's a really good Monty Python
Keegan
sketch.
is awesome too.
Keegan's
great. Keegan's a friend of ours, technically a coworker.
Yeah, he totally is. But really quickly, the whole idea of a song, or let's say a joke. There's a really good Monty Python Flying Circus sketch where there's this joke that kills people just by virtue of saying it to them, and the joke has to be guarded and distributed only in little pieces. I think that, looking back on it now, is kind of a cool satire of what a meme can do, of the idea of weaponizing a meme, or just the idea of how insidious an idea can be once it reaches people and then they want to pass it around, because that's what a joke does, right?
Yeah,
1-800-588-2300. Oh, okay. You guys didn't do it. All right.
I don't know that one.
All right, dang.
Yeah,
there are people listening right now that changed.
who just did it.
Screaming?
Yeah.
They're screaming at their radios? Or they're
And
like,
Empire!
We're going to say it, but we're not going to sing the song because we don't want to curse you. Cars for Kids. So that's another one. So we can also think about, first, I love this point, to Jordan Peele and Keegan Michael Key. If you're listening, I think you would agree that comedy and horror are conjoined twins. They are very cognitively similar, and it's about surprise, right, ultimately. And there's a dark side to memes as well. Like, think about, in the days before the internet, think about all of the disgusting race-based caricatures that were used to dehumanize enemies or used to persecute minorities. And unfortunately, those caricatures are with us today, albeit sometimes in more evolved forms. They're stereotypes. This practice, all of these practices we just mentioned, songs, jingles, images, macros, all of this stuff only accelerated in the age of the internet, and new variables upped the power of this sort of psychological warfare. Now anonymity is easy. You're not anonymous to a government force, obviously. And if there's a company powerful enough, they will figure out who you are. But for the average audience member, just someone scrolling on Facebook or on Reddit, you can be anonymous. There's also the problem of false sourcing or misattribution, whether purposeful or accidental. And then, of course, there's information control because, yes, communication is democratized. More people can have microphones than ever before. But the folks who run the PA system, there are very few of them. There are very few faucets. And there are a lot of choke points there. So information can now, I would posit, be much more easily controlled than in the past. World powers know this. This isn't just your buddies. It's stuff they don't want you to know, chatting over beers or something. People in NATO, people in the UN are having oh shit moments about meme warfare. NATO has spoken about the power and the danger of memes. And from their perspective, from an international institutional perspective, these memes are a kind of guerrilla warfare. There is a fantastic report about this from a journal run by NATO called Defense Strategic Communications. It's free to read online right now. I highly recommend it if you're interested. It's called It's Time to Embrace Memetic Warfare, originally written by Jeff Giesa in 2015, and he later updated it, but pulled a couple of quotes from this because I really like the way he phrases both the situation and the danger. So maybe we can start with his first just sort of like thesis statement, his lay of the land in this digital conflict.
Here's the quote. In today's globalized information environment, the ability to influence narrative and perception has become arguably the most leveraged, participatory, and relevant form of power.
Ooh, most leveraged, most participatory, and most relevant. So what does that mean? Most leveraged, again, it goes back to investment on the part of the audience and the creator. It's easy to do this, right? It's easy to use this to great effect. Participatory means that it's easy for multiple people to do this, multiple groups that may have, not have had the wherewithal or the resources to wage this kind of warfare in the past. Now you don't have to print things. Now you don't have to send balloons over the border. You can just post a meme. You can do some paid advertising, and you can get it out there quickly. This is a problem, to put it lightly. There's another quote he has that I thought was really interesting, where he says, Even for those of us who live on social media, it is sometimes difficult to appreciate how quickly information can spread, the profundity of its global scope, and the significance of its impact on perceptions, narratives, and social movements. Once one starts viewing the internet through meme-colored glasses, nice one, Jeff, you can see memetic warfare everywhere. Political campaigns, contested narratives about news, and the thoughtless memes shared by Facebook friends and in videos on YouTube.
That's right, because it's like it seems it's something that can easily be shared without giving it too much thought as to the validity of the point that it's making. Maybe it makes a little bit of a point that you're ideologically aligned with, but at the end of the day, you're not like fact checking your memes. But guess who does fact check memes now? Instagram. And Facebook, and we'll get to the whole backlash with all of that, and maybe how memes can sway elections. But I recently got a notification on Instagram for a meme that I posted like more than a year ago, when the insurrection happened at the Capitol, and there was, you remember that dude with the weird kind of Grand Poobah hat on with the horns and stuff.
Shaman.
Yeah, the QAnon shaman. But I posted a meme that I just thoughtlessly shared because I'm like, surely this is probably true. But even if it's not, who cares? But the idea that the Simpsons have predicted like everything. It was an image of groundskeeper Willie dressed in a very similar outfit, and it just said like Simpsons did it or something like that. And I just now, a year and a half or however long later, got a notification from Instagram saying after using independent fact checkers, we have found that the post that you shared does not meet our criteria for standards and practices or whatever the hell it was. I could pull it up, but it was like a really old post that even if it was not true, which it turns out it wasn't, I actually kind of realized that because I tried to verify it after I had posted and couldn't find this episode of The Simpsons. But who cares? Okay, The Simpsons predicted this guy. That is not an ideological sentiment. It's just more like a sentiment about The Simpsons. But yet, because all this stuff is algorithmically driven, somehow I finally got through the filter, and they decided, "Uh-oh, buddy, you're spreading fake news there."
Oh boy, yeah, and it's weird because I love that you pointed out that time gap. Right? It didn't happen instantly. Somebody went back and reviewed your stuff. And yeah, just assume that anything you do on any computer might be public in the future.
But also the impact of memes require immediacy, don't they?
Right.
So like, screening them a year later is absolutely useless.
Yeah. Like our pal, that's a very good point, Noel. Our pal Paul was talking with us off air about a vintage meme Twitter account that he really likes, and then it hit me. Paul, I don't want to put you on blast here. I'm putting me on blast, really. It hit me when we were talking about this that, Paul was like, these are nostalgic, these are very old memes. They're from like 2010. And I remember thinking, wait, we were doing this show. We were about to do the show, at least in 2010, and now we have to ask, what's the point? What if you run into a weaponized meme in the wild? Why? What is the point of this stuff? The goals are pretty simple. One, the meme wants to get the audience to do something, like vote a certain way. The subreddit, the Donald, and 4chan. The poll forum on 4chan were enormously successful in that respect. The second thing would be the opposite, to get people to not do something they would otherwise do, like support a given political party or a protest, or, get them to not protest against a real-life physical war. And a meme, this is what we were talking about earlier, right? You pointed this out beautifully, Matt. A meme can bypass rational thought. It can cloud judgment. It's speaking to a different part of your brain, because your brain essentially is like an agglomeration of different personalities that don't always agree with each other, right? And that's why a song can touch someone differently than an essay, right? And because of this, memes are incredibly valuable. They're incredibly powerful. Memes are much cheaper to make than, say, a Tomahawk missile. And they're much cheaper to deploy than, say, sending a soldier into battle. So who is doing this?